Jack Mercer wiped the grease from his hands with a rag that had seen better days. The small garage in Oak Ridge, Nebraska wasn't much, but it was his livelihood. At 28, he had already resigned himself to a simple life, fixing cars, drinking beer on Fridays, and occasionally fishing at the lake outside town. The afternoon sun filtered through dusty windows as he closed the hood of Mrs. Wilson's sit-in. "Should run fine now," he called to his only employee, Sam, who was organizing tools in the back. "Tell her the timing belt's good for another 30,000 miles." The bell above the door jingled, and Jack turned to see a man in a crisp black suit, completely out of place in their small town. "Jack Mercer?" the man asked, his accent vaguely European. "That's me," Jack replied, tossing the rag onto his workbench. The man extended a slim leather portfolio. "I represent the law offices of Barrington and Webb, International Affairs. This is for you." Jack hesitated before taking the portfolio. "What is it?" "Legal documents regarding your inheritance." Without another word, the man turned and left. Sam wandered over. What was that about? "No idea," Jack muttered, opening the portfolio. The first page contained formal-looking letterhead and strange symbols Jack had never seen before. As he read, his eyebrows climbed higher. According to the document, he was the sole heir to Princess Zora of something called the Silurian Empire. The inheritance included her royal title, fortune, and diplomatic position in something called the Galactic Council. "This has to be a joke," Jack said, laughing nervously. "Some kind of scam." The next page mentioned his great-grandfather, William Mercer. Jack remembered family stories about great-grandpa William, a farmer who claimed to have seen strange lights in his fields back in the 1940s. Everyone thought he was just spinning tales. As Jack flipped through more pages, a small metal disc slipped out. It looked like a coin, but with an iridescent surface. When his finger touched it, the disc lit up, projecting a three-dimensional image of a woman with subtle non-human features, silvery skin, angular eyes with purple irises, and delicately pointed ears. "Greetings, Jack Mercer." The woman spoke in perfect English. "I am Princess Zora of the Silurian Empire. If you are viewing this, I have passed into the eternal void, and you are my chosen heir. Your great-grandfather saved my life when my scout ship crashed on your world. Our friendship remained secret, but I never forgot the kindness of your family. The Galactic Council grows unstable, and I need someone untouched by our politics, someone with the honest heart of your bloodline. A representative will arrive shortly. The future of many worlds now rests with you." The projection disappeared just as a deafening roar shook the garage. Tools rattled off shelves. The ground vibrated. Sam ran to the window. "Holy, Jack, you better come see this." Outside, settling onto the empty lot behind the garage, was a sleek silver craft about the size of a bus. It had no visible windows or doors, just smooth curves that seemed to absorb the sunlight. The air around it shimmered with heat. A seam appeared in the side of the craft, widening into a doorway. A ramp extended to the ground. Jack and Sam stood frozen as a figure emerged. 7 feet tall and covered in green scales, the creature wore an elaborate uniform with medals and insignia. Its face was reptilian but with intelligent yellow eyes. It walked with dignified purpose directly toward Jack's garage. "I must be losing my mind," Jack whispered. The creature stopped at the garage entrance and bowed slightly. "Jack Mercer of Earth," it said in a surprisingly melodious voice. "I am Ambassador Krell of the Galactic Council. I have come to escort you to your rightful position. The fate of the Silurian Empire awaits." Jack looked back at the simple garage that had been his whole world until 5 minutes ago. His life would never be the same. "I need to pack some things," Jack said, still not fully believing what was happening. Ambassador Krell's reptilian face remained expressionless. "That will not be necessary. The ship contains everything required for your journey." Sam grabbed Jack's arm. "You're not seriously going with this, whatever it is." Jack stared at the document in his hands, then at the alien ship. I don't think I have a choice. 30 minutes later, after a hurried explanation to Sam about watching the garage, Jack found himself walking up the ramp into the alien vessel. The interior was surprisingly comfortable, sleek, but with recognizable furniture adapted for various body types. This is the Celestial Emissary, Krell explained as the door sealed behind them. One of our diplomatic vessels. Your quarters are this way. Jack followed the tall reptilian through curved corridors, lit by soft blue light. How long until we get there? He asked, still processing the reality of being on an alien spaceship. 3 Earth days to reach the Council station, Krell replied. This will give you time for basic orientation. Jack's quarters turned out to be a spacious room with a bed, desk, and what appeared to be a bathroom. The environmental controls are adjusted to human comfort, Krell explained. Rest now. We begin your education in 6 hours. A slight vibration was the only indication they had launched. Jack pressed his face against a small window, watching his Earth, his home, everything he had ever known, shrank to a blue marble, then a dot, then nothing at all. The education Krell promised was intense. Jack sat before a screen while information poured into his mind about the Galactic Council and the 12 major species that govern known space. The Silurian Empire, Krell explained during their meals together, was once among the most powerful civilizations. Princess Zora was its last royal. Without her, the empire is vulnerable. Why me? Jack asked, pushing around food that looked like blue rice but tasted like sweet potatoes. There must be better choices than a mechanic from Nebraska. Krell's yellow eyes narrowed. Princess Zora believed your unpolluted perspective would be valuable. Several council factions are already positioning to seize Tellurian territories. Your inheritance disrupts their plans. On the second day, Jack met other crew members, beings with tentacles, fur, and shapes that defied human description. Most viewed him with curiosity, some with obvious disdain. They doubt you will succeed, Krell said bluntly when Jack mentioned this. Humans are considered primitive by council standards. Great, Jack muttered. No pressure. The third day brought Jack's first glimpse of the council station, a massive structure floating in space, its central ring surrounded by 12 spokes, each representing a major council species. The Silurian section gleamed with silver spires. As they docked, Krell presented Jack with formal attire, a midnight blue suit with silver trim and a cape that shifted colors like oil on water. These are Silurian royal colors, Krell explained, helping Jack adjust the unfamiliar garments. You must look the part, even if you do not yet feel it. Jack stared at his reflection in a mirror-like surface. The man looking back seemed like a stranger. The clothes transformed him outwardly, but inside he was still just Jack Mercer, small-town mechanic. What happens now? He asked. Now, Krell said, you face the council. They will challenge your claim. They will mock you. They will try to intimidate you. The reptilian placed a scaled hand on Jack's shoulder. Remember that Princess Zora chose you for a reason. The ship's door opened, revealing a grand hallway filled with beings of all descriptions. Whispers and stares followed Jack as he walked beside Krell toward massive doors emblazoned with symbols. Welcome to the heart of galactic politics, Krell said quietly. Try not to show fear. They can smell it. Jack took a deep breath and straightened his shoulders. Whatever waited behind those doors, he would face it as best he could. The massive doors swung open silently, revealing a circular chamber larger than any building Jack had ever entered. 12 raised platforms formed a ring around a central speaking area. Each platform held representatives of different species, some so alien that Jack struggled to process their forms. The human arrives, announced a booming voice. Jack Mercer of Earth, claiming the inheritance of Princess Zora of the Silurian Empire. All eyes, some glowing, some multifaceted, some barely recognizable as eyes at all, turned toward Jack. He felt sweat forming under his ornate clothes. Krell nudged him forward. Walk to the center and bow, he whispered. Jack moved to the circular platform in the middle of the chamber. He attempted a bow, unsure of the proper depth or duration. "How quaint," came a silky voice from the tallest platform. "It attempts our customs." Jack looked up to see a being with smooth gray skin and 4 arms. The alien wore elaborate armor that seemed to be made of living metal. "Counselor Drex of the Valkyrian Collective," Krell murmured. "Our most vocal opponent." Drex stood, towering over the others. "Esteemed colleagues, we are asked to recognize this primitive as the heir to one of our founding empires, a creature whose species has barely mastered basic spaceflight, now claiming authority over Silurian territories and technologies." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Jack felt his face grow hot. "The Valkyrians proposed that Princess Zora's territories be divided among existing council members," Drex continued, "for proper management and security. Convenient that the Valkyrians border the richest Silurian mining worlds." Came a melodic voice from another platform. Jack turned to see a woman with golden skin and flowing silver hair. She appeared almost human except for her eyes, which were entirely violet with no visible pupils. "Counselor Ilara of the Astrali Republic," Krell explained quietly. "A potential ally." Ilara descended from her platform, her silver robes flowing like water. "Princess Zora's will was clear and legally binding under council law. We should at least allow her chosen heir to speak." Jack cleared his throat. "Thank you, Counselor. I know I'm not what you expected. I'm just a mechanic from Earth. But Princess Zora chose me for a reason, and I intend to honor her trust." "It speaks," mocked Drex. "And what precisely does a mechanic know of interstellar diplomacy, of trade negotiations, of military defense?" "Nothing yet," Jack admitted, "but I'm willing to learn." The chamber erupted with laughter again. Jack noticed that even Krell looked uncomfortable. "Enough entertainment," growled a being that appeared to be made of living stone. "Let us vote on this matter and be done." The next hour was a blur of procedural arguments and references to laws Jack didn't understand. Counselors spoke over each other, while holographic documents appeared and disappeared above the central platform. Finally, Ilara called for order. "We will resolve this according to precedent. The human will have a probationary period of 90 Earth days to demonstrate fitness for his position. During this time, he will be housed in the Silurian embassy and provided with advisors." "And when he fails?" Drex asked with a predatory smile. "If he fails," Ilara corrected, "the council will reconsider division of Silurian assets." The vote was quick. Jack counted 8 platforms lighting up with approval. "It is decided," announced a central computer voice. Probationary period approved. Council adjourned. As the delegates began to disperse, Drex approached Jack directly. Up close, the Valkyrian was even more intimidating, standing 9 feet tall with eyes like polished obsidian. "Enjoy your brief tenure, human," Drex said quietly. "Your kind lacks the capacity to comprehend our world. 90 days will pass quickly, and then the real game begins." Before Jack could respond, Ilara appeared at his side. "Don't mind Counselor Drex. His species values intimidation as diplomatic strategy." She smiled warmly at Jack. "I knew Princess Zora well. If she chose you, she had good reasons." Jack nodded gratefully as Krell guided him toward the exit. "That could have gone worse," Jack whispered. "Indeed," replied Krell. "You still have your head attached to your body. For your first council meeting, that's quite an achievement." Jack's quarters in the Silurian embassy felt both luxurious and alien. The walls shifted colors based on his mood, and the furniture adjusted to his body whenever he sat down. In the corner stood a holographic display showing the daily schedule created by his advisors. "We begin with diplomatic history today," announced Mira as she entered the room. The blue-skinned Silurian woman had been assigned as Jack's primary tutor. With large violet eyes and intricate patterns on her skin that seemed to move subtly, she was stunning yet intimidating. Another thrilling day of memorizing alien treaties. Jack sighed. rubbing his eyes. He'd been up late studying again. Mira's expression softened. You've made remarkable progress for someone with no prior experience. Most beings would have given up already. For 3 weeks, Jack had undergone intensive education. Mornings with Mira learning Silurian culture and galactic politics. Afternoons with Galen, his security chief, for protocol training. Galen was a formidable figure, 7 feet tall with 4 muscular arms and a face covered in battle scars. A veteran of conflicts Jack could barely comprehend. Stand straighter, Galen growled during that day's lesson. A slouching diplomat shows weakness. The Valkyrians will eat you alive if you present yourself poorly. Jack corrected his posture for the 10th time. Is that literal or figurative? Both, Galen replied without humor. The Counselor Drex once consumed an opponent after a particularly heated debate. Fantastic, Jack muttered. Despite the grueling schedule, Jack was making progress. His mechanical background proved unexpectedly useful when studying Silurian technology. Where others saw mystical devices, Jack saw mechanical principles he could understand. One evening, while examining ancient Silurian artifacts in the Embassy Museum, Jack noticed a power coupling that had corroded. This hasn't worked in centuries, the museum curator explained. Jack studied the device. The problem is simple. The energy flow is blocked here. Without asking permission, he carefully adjusted 2 components. The artifact hummed to life, projecting a beautiful star map across the ceiling. The curator stared in shock, but our best technicians couldn't repair it. Sometimes fresh eyes help. Jack shrugged. I fix things. It's what I do. Word of Jack's talent with Silurian technology spread through the embassy. Staff members who had initially avoided him began seeking his help with various mechanical problems. Each success earned him small but important allies. Late one night, unable to sleep, Jack accessed Princess Zora's personal logs, which had been provided to him as her heir. Most entries discussed routine matters, but several from her final months showed growing concern. Threats received again today, her voice noted in one recording. Security increased, but I fear it won't be enough. Too many stand to gain from my absence. Jack sat up straight. Computer, was Princess Zora's death investigated as suspicious? Negative, the AI responded. Official cause. Natural organ failure. But she was young for her species, wasn't she? Affirmative. Princess Zora was 84 years old. Average Silurian lifespan, 300 years. Jack felt a chill. What if her death wasn't natural? What if whoever was responsible now had their sights on him? The next morning, Jack found Counselor Ilara waiting in his study. You've been asking questions about Princess Zora's death, she said without preamble. Jack tensed. Should I not be? Ilara glanced around, then lowered her voice. Be careful who hears those questions. Many powerful beings benefited from her passing. She handed him a small data crystal. This contains secure communication protocols. If you discover anything, contact me this way. As she turned to leave, Jack asked, Why are you helping me? Ilara paused. Because Zora was my friend, and because the council needs change. Her violet eyes met his. You see things differently. That's valuable, even if others mock it. After she left, Galen emerged from the shadows where he'd been watching. Can we trust her? Jack asked. The 4-armed security chief shrugged. In politics, trust is temporary, but her actions support her words so far. Jack nodded, pocketing the data crystal. Then it's time I stopped just studying and started acting. If someone killed Princess Zora, I need to find out who and why. Galen's face showed the closest thing to a smile Jack had yet seen. Now you're thinking like a royal heir. 30 days into his probation, Jack entered the council chamber with a confidence he hadn't possessed before. No longer did he hesitate at the doorway or look to Krell for guidance. He walked directly to the Silurian platform, nodded respectfully to his fellow council members, and took his seat. The council recognizes Jack Mercer of the Silurian Empire, announced the Chamber's automated system. The day's agenda focused on a territorial dispute between two minor species in the Cygnus sector. For the first hour, Jack listened quietly, absorbing the arguments. Unlike his first meetings, where he had been overwhelmed by alien terminology and protocol, he now followed the debate with understanding. When Councillor Drex proposed a solution that heavily favored his Valkyrian allies, Jack activated his speaking light. "The Silurian Empire wishes to offer an alternative," he stated clearly. Several councillors looked surprised. This was the first time Jack had voluntarily joined a debate not directly related to Silurian interests. Using the natural asteroid belt as a boundary would give both species access to the resources they need, Jack explained, displaying a holographic map he had prepared. "If we designate the Central Moon as a shared trading post with Council oversight, both civilizations benefit." The chamber fell silent. Jack's proposal was simple but effective. Exactly what neither side had considered in their power struggle. "The human shows unexpected wisdom," remarked the stone-like counselor, who had previously dismissed him. "The Lithian Confederation supports this compromise." One by one, most counselors signaled approval. Even those aligned with Drex couldn't find reasonable objections. The proposal passed, and Jack noticed several counselors regarding him with newfound respect. After the session, Councillor Ilara approached him in the hallway. "Impressive work today," she said quietly. "You're making allies and enemies." Jack nodded. Drex hasn't exactly been subtle about his opposition. "Be careful," Ilara warned. "The Valkyrians play a long game. They won't attack directly now that you're gaining support." That evening, Jack received an invitation to negotiate his first trade agreement, a small but significant step in establishing his authority. The meeting was with representatives from 3 developing worlds seeking access to Silurian medical technology. Rather than demanding high prices as his advisors suggested, Jack proposed a graduated payment system that allowed poorer worlds to access basic treatments immediately while paying over time. "The Silurian Empire believes healthcare is a right, not a privilege," Jack stated, remembering his own struggles with medical bills back on Earth. "This arrangement benefits everyone." Word of Jack's fair dealing spread quickly. Within days, representatives from multiple worlds sought meetings with him. During his 6th council session, Jack was walking toward the chamber when a sharp crack echoed through the corridor. Something whizzed past his ear, striking the wall behind him. Instantly, Galen, his security chief, tackled him to the ground as 3 more shots hit where Jack had been standing. "Assassins!" Galen shouted, his 4 arms simultaneously drawing weapons and shielding Jack. Security forces swarmed the area, but the attacker had vanished, leaving only a specialized weapon of Valkyrian design. "Not exactly subtle," Jack commented as Galen helped him up. "But impossible to prove," Galen replied grimly. "The weapon could have been stolen or planted." Despite Krell's advice to postpone, Jack insisted on attending the council session, entering the chamber with visible scorch marks on his robe. "Councillor Mercer," Drex remarked with false concern, "you appear to have had an accident." "Just a small disagreement with someone who doesn't appreciate fair trade practices," Jack replied calmly. "Shall we continue with today's agenda?" The assassination attempt had an unexpected effect. Public opinion across multiple worlds swung heavily in Jack's favor. Common citizens, long tired of council politics, saw him as a refreshing change. "The people admire your resilience," Mira told him as they reviewed opinion data. "You're becoming a symbol of hope for overlooked worlds." Jack nodded thoughtfully. "Then let's use that. It's time to start pushing for real changes in how the council operates." Despite his growing confidence, Jack knew the real fight was just beginning. Drex was watching, waiting for him to make a mistake. Jack turned the small crystal pendant over in his fingers. He had found it hidden in a false bottom of Princess Zora's jewelry box while looking through her personal effects. Unlike her other ornate possessions, this simple crystal seemed ordinary, yet it had been carefully concealed. "What were you hiding, Princess?" Jack murmured. The crystal warmed slightly at his touch. Curious, he held it closer to his eyes, noticing tiny symbols etched inside that seemed to shift and change as he moved it. "Mira." He called to his advisor, who was arranging documents nearby. "Have you ever seen anything like this?" The blue-skinned Silurian studied the crystal and gasped. "This is a memory key. Very rare and incredibly secure. They respond only to specific genetic signatures, like a royal bloodline." Jack asked. "Exactly," Mira replied. "But how would it recognize you?" Jack remembered Princess Zora's message about his great-grandfather. Maybe she programmed it to accept my family's DNA too. Acting on instinct, Jack pressed the crystal against the data terminal in his quarters. The screen flickered, then displayed a single line of text in Silurian script. "What does it say?" Jack asked. "Speak my true name," Mira translated, looking puzzled. Jack thought for a moment. In his studies, he had learned that Silurian royalty had public names and secret birth names known only to their closest confidants. "Luminara," Jack said quietly, recalling a mention in Zora's private journals. The crystal glowed brightly, and the terminal suddenly accessed a hidden database. Files upon files appeared: surveillance recordings, financial transactions, and private communications. "By the void," Mira whispered. "This is evidence of a massive conspiracy." Jack and Mira spent hours reviewing the files. What they discovered was shocking. Counselor Drex had been orchestrating Princess Zora's downfall for years. The evidence showed he had infiltrated her security, poisoned her slowly over months, and was planning to seize control of multiple territories once the Silurian Empire collapsed. "We need to get this to the Council immediately," Jack said, copying the files to a secure drive. The door to his quarters burst open. Galen rushed in, 2 of his 4 arms holding weapons. "We have a problem," the security chief growled. "Valkyrian forces have entered the station. They've compromised station security and cut off communication with the council chamber." "Drex knows we found something," Jack realized. "How did he?" An explosion rocked the embassy, cutting off his words. Emergency alarms wailed. "No time," Galen said. "We need to move now." Jack grabbed the data drive and followed Galen and Mira through a service door hidden in the wall. They entered a narrow maintenance tunnel. "These tunnels run throughout the station," Galen explained as they hurried forward. "Few know about them." "Where are we going?" Jack asked. "Council emergency session," Mira said. "Drex has called it under pretense of a security threat. He'll likely try to suspend your position. Or worse," Galen added grimly. They navigated the dimly lit tunnels, occasionally freezing as armed patrols passed nearby. Jack could hear announcements overhead about a station-wide lockdown. "Here," Galen stopped at a junction. "This will take us directly beneath the council chamber. But the main access will be guarded." Jack studied the tunnel layout on Galen's portable display. His eyes lit up as he noticed something. "These service conduits," he pointed. "They connect to the environmental systems for the chamber." "Yes," Mira confirmed. "But they're too small for us to pass through." Jack smiled. "Maybe for you. But I spent years squeezing into tight spaces to fix engines." He pointed to a panel. "Help me open this." Using tools from Galen's kit, Jack removed the panel, revealing a narrow shaft. "I can get through and open the access door from inside," Jack said. "Give me the data drive." Mira looked worried. "You'll be alone against whatever forces Drex has placed." Jack took a deep breath. "Princess Zora chose me for a reason. I think it's time I proved her right." Before either advisor could object further, Jack slipped into the conduit. As he crawled through the tight space, military-grade weapons fire echoed behind him. Galen and Mira were engaging hostile forces to buy him time. Jack continued forward, the data drive clutched tightly in his hand. The fate of multiple worlds now depended on him reaching the council chamber in time. The air duct ended at a small grate overlooking the council chamber. Jack peered through the slats, seeing chaos below. Several council members argued loudly while security forces with Valkyrian insignia blocked the main doors. Councillor Drex stood at the center platform, his forearms gesturing dramatically. "The human hair has betrayed us all." Drex's voice boomed. His associates attacked station security and accessed restricted areas. I moved to immediately strip him of all titles and authority. Jack loosened the grate carefully. He needed to time this perfectly. Below, Councillor Ilara stood in opposition. "Where is your proof, Drex? We should wait until Jack Mercer can defend himself." "The evidence is clear," Drex snarled. "Vote now or face consequences." Jack slipped through the opening and dropped silently onto a decorative ledge behind the Silurian platform. None of the distracted council members noticed him. He spotted a maintenance panel near the chamber's central controls. Drawing on his years as a mechanic, Jack quickly assessed the security system. The panel had been modified with Valkyrian technology, something he'd studied extensively during his training. He retrieved a small tool from his pocket and began bypassing the locks. "The vote will proceed," Drex announced triumphantly as Jack worked. "Security, prepare to escort any dissenters to holding cells." The panel came loose in Jack's hands. Inside, he found exactly what he needed: the master override for the chamber's communication systems. With a few quick adjustments, he connected the data drive. "I think you've talked enough, Councillor Drex," Jack called out, standing up on the Silurian platform. The chamber fell silent. Drex's obsidian eyes widened in shock. "How did you?" "A good mechanic always finds a way in," Jack replied, activating the override. "And now, everyone will hear the truth." The chamber's massive screens flickered to life, displaying Princess Zora's carefully gathered evidence. Communications channels throughout the station and to all council worlds opened simultaneously. There was nothing Drex could do to stop the broadcast. For years, Councillor Drex has orchestrated a campaign to destabilize the galactic balance, Jack announced. He arranged Princess Zora's assassination through slow poisoning. He planned to divide her territories among his allies. And today, he attempted a coup against the council itself. The evidence played out clearly: recorded conversations, financial transactions, medical reports confirming the poison in Zora's system. "Lies," Drex roared, signaling his guards. "Seize him." The Valkyrian forces moved forward, but stopped suddenly as the chamber's secondary doors burst open. Galen led a contingent of station security and representatives from multiple worlds who had rallied to Jack's cause. Drex looked around wildly, seeing his support evaporating. In a desperate move, he lunged toward Jack, forearms reaching out with deadly intent. Jack didn't flinch. Instead, he pressed a final button on the control panel. The floor beneath Drex shifted, activating an ancient Silurian containment field. Drex froze in place, immobilized. "Another thing Princess Zera left me," Jack said calmly. "Knowledge of all the council chamber's security features, including those installed by her ancestors." The following hours passed in a blur of testimonies and revelations. Drex's conspirators were identified and detained. The full extent of the plot, spanning decades and threatening numerous worlds, shocked even the most cynical council members. 3 days later, Jack stood once more at the center of the council chamber, now as a fully recognized and respected member. "The Silurian Empire proposes a reformation of council structure," he announced. "No more secretive dealings, no more ignored voices. Every world deserves representation, not just the powerful 12. One by one, the council members signaled their support. Even those who had once mocked him now acknowledged his wisdom. As the session ended, Councillor Ilara approached him. "Princess Zora would be proud," she said softly. "You've accomplished in 90 days what she hoped to achieve in decades." Jack looked around at the chamber that had once intimidated him. "I'm still learning," he admitted. but I think I'm starting to understand why she chose me. Later, standing at the observation deck overlooking the stars, Jack thought about his garage back on Earth. So much had changed. He had arrived as an outsider, mocked and underestimated. Now he stood as the architect of a new galactic order. His communication device chimed. Earth had been officially invited to join the galactic community, the first step in bringing his homeworld into the civilization he now helped lead. Jack smiled. From small-town mechanic to galactic diplomat, it had been quite a journey, and it was only just beginning.